Welcome back to Sous-vide Everything, guys. You saw the thumbnail. Should we always let our steak come to room temperature before we actually cook it? Is it true? Have you ever done the experiment? I've never done it. I have no idea if it's true, but however, I've heard that from many chefs. Today, we are running that experiment. Check it out. We all love perfectly cooked steaks, and when we cook it right, it comes out juicy, tender, and everything we ever want on amazing steaks just like this. As I just mentioned, many chefs swears by letting the steaks come to room temperature before cooking it. And one of the reasons I believe they say that is so that it will cook evenly, which does make sense, especially because the heat comes from the outside in, and if the steak is warm at room temperature, it will get hotter faster. So today we're gonna see if this is really true. I'm cooking steaks with 3 different methods: sous vide, reverse sear, and the traditional pan fry to settle this debate once and for all. Oh, and just a quick heads up, the results are absolutely mesmerizing. And these are the star of the show. For obvious reason, they were delivered to me by my meat supplier, aka my meat dealer. And if you don't have one, you should. Especially in today's time, it is awesome to have somebody you can trust. Since they all come individually packed, it is awesome to pick out of the freezer the exact amount I need. This way I don't have to compromise any of the others. After opening them up, you can really appreciate the marbling of these beautiful steaks. This is exactly what you should be getting when buying prime steaks. But now that I have these beautiful steaks ready, here's how this experiment's gonna work. The first thing I want to do is to separate them in individual trays so that I can easily move them around. This will keep them all from receiving heat from my hand. Since you already know 2 will be cooked sous vide, 2 I'll be using the reverse sear method, and the other 2 pan fried, we started off with the 2 sous vide steaks. As you can see, they are beautiful ribeyes. Before starting the experiment, the first thing we need to know is when food starts growing bacteria at room temperature. And according to the FDA, here's what they say. Bacteria grows most rapidly in the range temperature between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140. Doubling in numbers as little as 20 minutes. This range of temperature is often called the danger zone. That's why the Meat and the Poultry Hotline advises consumer to never leave food out of a refrigeration for over 2 hours. So to be clear, our maximum length to let the steaks rest at room temperature is 2 hours. Every steak starts at my fridge temp, which is 34 degrees Fahrenheit or 1 degree Celsius. One will go back into the fridge, and it will stay at that temperature until it's time to cook. And this one will stay at room temperature. And with all that being said, this is the result I got after leaving it out of the fridge for 2 hours. First, my studio temp was 74 degrees Fahrenheit. That is our target room temperature before cooking the steak. After 30 minutes, the steak went from an internal temperature of 34 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 37. But the surface temp went up much more. It started at 34 and it climbed up to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. After 1 hour, the internal temperature raised by 3 degrees. However, the surface raised 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And exactly after 2 hours, the internal temperature was 46 degrees Fahrenheit or 8 degrees Celsius, which is a total increase of 12 degrees Fahrenheit internally. And the surface of the steak had reached room temperature at 74 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you already know, we cannot leave it any longer than that. If we do, we're going to be running some huge risks. One interesting thing I noticed right away is that the room temperature steak released quite a bit amount of juices. And let me tell you something, I was not happy about that. But it's expected when you leave steaks at room temperature. So I placed both steaks in a cooling rack for seasoning. And once I did that, check out the juices. I really wish that was inside of the steak and not on my plate. For the seasoning, I kept it pretty simple. I seasoned it with salt, pepper, and garlic powder. When I picked up the steak, I'll tell you one thing. The room temperature was so soft that it got me by surprise. It's way too soft and something I'm not used to. But the next thing is to bag them up, vacuum seal them, and get them ready for sous vide. I'm going to be cooking both steaks in the same container at 135 degrees Fahrenheit for 2.5 hours. I got my beautiful steaks cooked at 135 degrees Fahrenheit for 2.5 hours. But hey, it's time to take them out and see if this is actually true or just a myth. Let's do it. All right, everybody, I got my beautiful steaks here. Well, maybe I shouldn't say beautiful, right? Because they just came out of the bag. They look grayish. They look like they were maybe not cooked very well or maybe just oxidized inside of the refrigerator. But that's what is expected when you cook it sous vide, everybody. The good thing about it is that inside in the middle is perfectly medium rare, just the way I enjoy it. Now, here's the deal. I'm gonna be patting it dry so that we can get a wonderful sear and crust on these beautiful, to be beautiful, steaks, right? It's always a good practice to pat it dry so you can get a wonderful sear. Talking about wonderful sear, I'm gonna be using the Champion because we know that the Champion will guarantee us perfection without overcooking the steak. And when I say champion, I'm talking about my flamethrower. If you have not seen the Searing Serious competition that I did, and this one here came out on top, you should check it out on the card above later on or on the description down below. Now, this will sear it hot and fast and quick. It's the champ. Oh yeah, it works quickly. It does not play around, everybody. Now, with all that being said, it's time to put a nice beautiful sear and eat them to find out if there's actually any difference between them. I know, they don't look that good right now, but watch this. There we have it, everybody. They smell so wonderful. I wish you could smell it. With all that being said, I can't wait to try it and to find out actually if there's any difference between them. So we're gonna go with this one here first. Cheers. It's juicy, tender, perfect the way it should be, the way I'm used to having sous vide steak. It absolutely never, ever disappoints. Okay, this is the one that we actually let it come to room temperature. Let's give it a try and see if there's any difference. I know a lot of people always tell me, Guga, you overreact, but I don't even know how to react because it's just literally melts in your mouth. As I'm taking each individual bite, the juices just flow all over. So here's the deal, there's absolutely no difference. I think the theory is because it was cooked nice and slow and even heat, it didn't matter if it was room temperature enough because this is sous vide. When you're cooking a sous vide, you're cooking it gently, unlike the traditional method where you just go nice and hard and fast with high heat. But now I'm gonna test reverse sear to see how that works, and also I'm gonna do a pan fry steak directly to find out if there's any difference so that you don't have to try it at home. For the reverse sear steak, I got the same exact result as the previous one. 2 hours is just not enough to get the internal temperature to room temperature, but it is enough for the surface of the steak, as you already know. But then I moved right into the seasoning and I kept it exactly the same with salt, freshly ground black pepper, and garlic powder. I put them in the oven to bake at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. My goal was to reach a total internal temperature of 125 degrees Fahrenheit. And once that was reached, I got them out of the oven. All right, here we have our reverse seared steak. Now, a lot of people always said, Guga, the sous vide steak, when they come out of the bag, look absolutely horrendous, which is true. What about the reverse sear? If you think that looks good, I don't know what to tell you. They do not look good at all. They need a nice sear and a nice crust so that they can actually be appetizing. With all that being said, I'm gonna be using the cast iron to do that. I'm gonna be using a little bit of thyme, rosemary, and garlic to finish it off. I know, these don't look good right now, but watch this. There we have the beautiful reverse seared steak. I can tell you one thing, this method is fantastic if you don't have sous vide. If you never tried sous vide and you want to do an amazing steak, try the reverse sear method, everybody. It is good. I enjoy that method very much. So let's give this a try and I'll let you know exactly what it tastes like. It's amazing. That butter, thyme, garlic comes through on the steak. It is fantastic. However, you notice that it has a thick gray band. That's because of the cast iron. The longer it is in the cast iron searing, the longer you have that gray band. But hey, I'll tell you one thing. This is an amazing steak. If you don't have sous vide available, you want to try an amazing steak, do the reverse sear, everybody. It's great. Second steak. Cheers, everybody. It is just as good. I'll tell you that right now. It's so disappointing, because I really hoped that it was some type of difference, and I thought that it was going to be something different, but it's not, everybody. These steaks are both amazing. They are exactly the same. There's no difference between them whatsoever. The professional chefs tells you to do that at home, maybe because they cook the traditional way, which you sear the steak first and then flip it, cook it in low heat until it comes up to temperature. Now, I'd say the only thing left to do is to try that method to see if this thing is really just a myth overall that chefs been telling us many years, or if it's actually true. So let's go ahead and cook a traditional steak right now. As you would expect already, we got the same exact result for these two beautiful steaks. Leaving them for 2 hours at room temperature will always give you the same result. And yes, I am crying inside. As you can see, these delicious juices are just laughing at me. But hey, I kept the seasoning exactly the same with salt, freshly ground black pepper, and garlic powder. Once that was done, I got them ready for the pan. I cooked both exactly for a total of 1 minute per side in high heat. Then I lowered the heat and threw in butter, thyme, and garlic. I kept flipping the steaks to ensure even heat through both sides, and at the same time basting it with that beautiful brown butter. And never forget to sear the edges so you can render that delicious fat. But after cooking them for a few minutes, once they reach an internal temperature of 125 degrees Fahrenheit, I took them off the heat and let them rest for 5 minutes. And once the time was up, I sliced them, and this is what I got. All right, let's give this one a try. I'll tell you one thing, it is exactly what you would expect from a prime steak like this. It tastes wonderful, wonderful flavor, but at the same time, I'm curious to find out about the second one. It's nice, juicy, but the tenderness of the sous-vide and the reverse sear is a lot better than this one. I'm telling you right now, if you have not tried either one of those methods, do it. This is a total myth. It is not true. Do not let your steak come to room temperature before cooking it. There's no purpose for it. It's absolutely a myth. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe for future videos. Remember, if you are interested in anything I use, everything's always in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure, everybody, you stay safe out there. We are in self-quarantine because we chose to. We love our family. We love our elders, abuela, abuelo, everyone. So we're trying to protect everybody. So everyone is staying home. I do have a few videos that I've recorded previously that I'll be posting it, but at the same time, self-quarantine, I can come up with some nice creative ideas, and if there's anything in specific you would like to watch, put it in the comments down below. I'm gonna make it happen. See you guys on the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.